pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith? Ms. Selchow?
Here.
Mr. Lindemann?
Here.
Mr. Ramos?
Here.
Mr. Breen?
Here. Item 1D, do you have anybody who wants to address the board?
Yes, sir.
Action 2, 2A, discussion action on the approval of athletic addendums for Douglas High School, Ms. Samaniego.
Yes, so as presented, I'm bringing these two because basketball, as you know, has their off-season practice, and the coach is a volleyball coach, so the kids need their assistance to start doing some off-season practice. These are two employees of the district, current teachers of the district, so my recommendation is for approval to hire them as the assistant boys basketball coach for a stipend amount or addendum of $2,000 for the season.
Entertain a motion to
I
do
move
that.
to approve the athletic addendums for DHS.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramos. Any discussion? You've got some background information there that was provided, members of the board regarding their experience and their background in that.
Mr.
Mr.
President,
President.
You have no problem financially to support that, right?
No, they're encumbered.
Okay.
The coaching positions are encumbered.
Mr. Lindemann.
I just wanted to ask, when can they start, or are they gonna start pretty soon?
So if
or-
you notice, I have them as ratification, so I allowed them to start practicing probably this week. So they got my approval because I knew that this would go and be approved by you all.
Okay, very good.
Ms. Salchow?
No, I have no questions.
Roll call.
Ms. Selchow?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes,
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Breen?
Yes. Item B, discussion action on the approval of a stipend for certified staff, classified staff, and administrators from ESSER 3 funding. And before I defer to Ms. Samaniego, I just want to say, board members, for some time, this board has advocated very strongly, all of us, since all of us have been seated on this board, that one of the priorities was that we would do the best we could always for our teachers and the whole staff when possible, not only by way of salary, but stipends and any other way that we could remunerate them for their hard work, their loyalty, and all the good things they do. We've always made that a pretty solid statement. We couldn't do this, though, unless we had, and I think it's time that we recognize, and we've done a lot over the years. Even more recently, we gave a stipend a few months ago. We've always told the administration and asked them that whenever possible, if they saw the possibility, even if it was remote, to do something for our staff, that they bring it to the board. Now, we don't get involved in the daily operation of the district, especially the financial matters. However, we couldn't be doing this today or do anything that we've done in the past regarding any type of a stipend or remuneration for the staff unless the administration was not willing, but that they were sensitive to coming back and wanting to do it as well, knowing what we have said over the years. So I think a lot of credit goes to the staff for recognizing that we do have these funds which could have very easily been returned. But knowing, and then their sensitivity and their willingness and wanting to do it as well is why we're here this morning, because we have, again, some good news for the staff regarding a stipend. And so I just want to recognize the administration for being sensitive to it and always coming up with things that are in the best interest of the staff, because, you know, that's the board philosophy, and you're bringing it to us is, again, another example of doing that. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Samaniego.
Well, thank you. I will say it's, you know, we've said the complicated ESSER 3, which we've been very appreciative of and very thankful, because DUSD has been able to do a lot with those ESSER funds. But with anytime you get a grant, you know, there's a lot of requirements. And so it is our mission to be able to do everything we can in our power to utilize, you know, as much of those funds. But it does, towards the end, it's getting very complicated and making sure that everything is spent and what's not and what is. And so if there's even, some remote chance of anything being left, I may just come back next week and say, let's do it one more time. So at this point, we are proposing a $2,750 stipend to all qualifying employees. And the difference in this, I wanted to make sure that you understood, there is no discrepancy amount in positions, hours worked, or anything for all of our employees. And we wanted to recognize all of our employees equally. And so as long as they were hired by August the 21st and in our payroll system already, they would qualify. ESS employees who are now in the retire program, they do not qualify. And our plan, if approved, the stipend would be paid out on the September 27th pay period.
Also, as a caveat to this, Mr. Soto knows, and of course through the auspices of the superintendent's office, that nothing can be recommended to the board that would in any way, and we need to make this clear, compromise the effective financial operation of the district. So again, that's the reason why we appreciate you, because we know that we're going to be fiscally responsible and solvent, and yet do something like this for our staff. So again, Mr. Soto, do you have anything you want to add to what, before I call for the question, Ms. Samaniego had to say?
Well, no, just to add that what Mrs. Amanigo said, I mean, this is a complicated grant, I will say, because if you remember, it's been a few years, and the issues of cleaning and finding all these monies. So it's been challenging, especially for the curriculum department. And now, as you know, they have a new, grants coordinator. So they're still looking, like I said, and trying to finalize that grant. So again, as Mr. Borain says, I mean, we are appreciative of our employees, and we thought that, this will be the best thing to do with the remaining funds of the grant.
No compromising the district. I think that's
Exactly.
important, so
This
that
is
everybody
separate.
understand that we're not just coming in here every time we see a balance in some category, and we say, well,
Yes.
we're gonna do that.
Correct.
And I think that is an important matter that I want you really to understand, because, the grants in general, we saw that there was some news out there about, the school improvement grant and people, districts losing money. And so oftentimes, the process of cleaning up a grant and encumbering everything and doing completion reports, sometimes there is money left over, but I don't want to spend anything that's gonna put the district in a situation where then we're giving all this money away, let's say, but now M&O has to cover it, because after you clean everything up, well, there's some discrepancy in amounts. So that's where
Very good.
the overlay of departments between business office, between, curriculum, and I want to say, hats off to Mrs. Herrera. I know it's been a very stressful amount of time to get this report done and submission. And so I do want to recognize the work that she's done. And, Denise being a former grants person and knowledgeable of the grants, she's also reviewing that along with Mrs. Barcelo. So it takes a little bit of everybody, so.
Yeah, and it'll be a good bump for the employees as well. Transparency is important, and I don't want people to think that we're belaboring the point, but I just want to assure everybody and have the district assure everybody that this administration knows what they're doing when they bring things to this board, and they know our willingness to do it. Look at Tucson Unified right now. If you look at the situation they're in with their audit report, and there's all kinds of accusations about not being transparent and being open to the public regarding their audits and so on, and that's one thing that we're always very proud here. So, okay, I think we've made a point and maybe oversold it, but I'll entertain a motion to do that now.
I move to approve the stipend for certified, classified, and administrators from ESSER 3 funding.
Second by Mr. Ramos. And then for clarification, that'll show up on the employee's paycheck, the
The
27th
27th,
is
it's the
coming
next
pay
pay period.
the 27th. Further discussion,
Yeah,
members of the board, Mr. Ramos.
I just wanted to, compliment the administration on that. And you, Mr. Borain, because of the clarifications of diligently explained, so the people can understand where the money's coming from and why it was there to be
Yeah.
distributed to our employees. Very important, very well presented and everything. My compliments.
Mr. Lindeman? Ms. Salcho?
Just saying that, I know that, and after reading a lot about ESSER and how things have been spent and how we've tried our very best to use it appropriately and for the benefit of not just our students, but our teachers and staff as well, our administrators. Not all school districts did that. And money was returned and it wasn't always used with them in mind, is how I'm gonna put it.
Thank you for that. Administration, any follow-up comments? No. Roll call.
Ms. Salcha?
Yes,
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Breen?
Yes. Item C, discussion action on the approval of the revised intergovernmental agreement between the City of Douglas and Douglas Unified School District Number 27 for the School Safety Officer Program. Ms. Samaniego.
This is the IGA that the board had already prior approved. If you remember, it's the IGA between the City of Douglas and DUSD when we brought the SSO to the table program, which allowed, we believed City of Douglas was going to be able to hire the SSO. But we've now revised that. We are now in the process of recommending an SSO as a district employee, so the IGA needed to change. You can see the changes here will include that Douglas Police Department will be a partner with us. They will provide a vehicle, they will provide training, they will provide uniform, they will ensure that the officer continues to be a certified peace officer. And so that's the biggest change with the IGA. And both, our attorney has already reviewed it. City of Douglas will have it on their board agenda for approval as well.
We can never get too much security in the schools, and I think that's something that we've put as very high priority in the district, and this is part of that fulfillment. Before I call for the question for board discussion, could you give an explanation between the difference between the SRO, the officer that's at the high school already, and our security? Just so that it's a general understanding of just what all of this entails.
Okay, so the SRO is in a partnership also with City of Douglas, but the SRO is the City of Douglas employee, okay? So it's one of their officers that get placed at the high school. They still have the ability to work, after hours or get pulled if there's some, emergency in the community. We collaborate with the City of Douglas in terms of any concerns that we would have with the SRO, we would communicate that to chief. Our security, I'm just going to say our security in general, is there are our employees. Now, this SSO is going to be a retired peace duty officer that's still considered properly certified and trained. This SSO is not going to be able to be pulled out for City of Douglas emergencies or work for City of Douglas as a police officer because this is paid out of a different grant, and the grant stipulates that change. However, the partnership will still continue with the City of Douglas, and they will provide the tools and equipment necessary for that SSO to operate as the SRO does at Douglas High School. If that answers that question, or
Well,
if you need me
yeah,
to.
you want to add to that?
And our evaluation and our, all of that with the SSOs happens on our end as opposed to the SRO. There is that communication with City of Douglas if we had any concerns, but the SRO is their employee. I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I want to add that another important aspect of this partnership and these employees is that these people are going to teach the students about law and the importance of, being like a role model. It's a requirement of the grant that they have to go to the classrooms and teach the kids about that.
thank you.
Okay, members of the board.
Yes, my question is on, I was reading the contract and they're gonna be furnished with a patrol car
Yes.
and the uniform and everything that they will still be wearing a regular Douglas Police Department
Yes.
uniform. Will they still be using a service revolver there to have on site?
Yes, just like the SSO, I believe, does, at the SRO does, the SSO will, because they're still considered that certified peace officer, and they have to have all the trainings.
Yeah.
So,
Mr.
it's
Leonard?
gonna be good for our both, I think the fact that they're gonna be on site, and we do have two candidates that we're gonna be recommending in the October meeting, because at one point we only had one. And so both middle schools hopefully will have an SSO.
I just had a couple of comments on this. First of all, this is a wonderful program that we're going to be able to have. How many officers will be funded out of this program? And will they be able to be of service to maybe the middle schools and possibly the elementaries if needed?
Okay, so the grant will fund two positions, and the grant was specifically for SSOs at the middle school level. So they cannot be utilized, in any other function, traditionally, for the purpose of the grant. But I'm sure that if we had an emergency, at an elementary school, we could disseminate them, but we can't be sending them, oh, you're gonna cover this 2 days, you're gonna cover this 3 days. That's not the intent, and we'd be in violation of the grant. So it's 2 middle schools, 2 officers.
Thank you.
Ms. Halcha?
Anna just answered my question.
I have one more. So the middle schools we have right now, security there, right?
Correct.
And having those 2 officers now at the middle schools, would we be able to have more supervision in the elementaries?
Yes, we could. Our intent is not to remove the security guard from the middle school that already works there, right? Because the security guard does have, our DUSD functions as a security guard. They deal with truancies, they deal with tardies, they deal with, a lot more. So the SSO is not going to be a disciplinarian by any means. It's not going to be addressing the tardies. It's not going to be addressing the other things that our school security does. But they have different responsibilities. And so in the event where we may need to cover an elementary school when there's an absence or so, we may be able to, and we always do, we'll have to, shift people around. But we intend to keep our security there as much as possible, so that the presence of the SSO is that role model, is gonna be spent time teaching and not just being a regular security guard, if that answers your question.
Along those same lines, considering that this district has an extremely high sensitivity to safety, why don't you break down, just as long as we're on the subject, because we're talking specifically about the middle school. Mr. Ramos asked about other things. Talk about how many security officers we have in the district, and assure everybody that we have at least one at every school. And just kind of let's take advantage of this and give that breakdown so that we clarify a lot of things regarding the safety program, which is very important.
Okay. Every single school in the district has at least one security officer. And of course, the high school is the one with a higher amount or bigger amount of them. I don't have the specific number, but I want to say there's at least 6 or 7 there, in addition than the SRO at the high school. So, of course, there's a couple vacancies at this point, but we're gonna bring that recommendation, I think, on the October meeting to fill those positions. So this is something that the USD takes very as a high importance, the safety of our students and staff. So the security department is going through a lot of training, along with the rest of the stuff that we have to know the procedures, and when there's an evacuation, when there's a fire, or when there's drills. So again, it's we do take that as a very important aspect, and every single school site has a security coverage all the time.
So if I may add, overall, I think we have roughly about 15 total within our security department. That does not include, of course, Mr. Ballesteros, the SRO, and we do have some that are considered substitute security officers. They, you know, they don't want a full-time job, but they are, have either worked with us before or have the qualifications. And so roughly about 15 in the schools.
And the, every one of the school plants is, got, let's say ground security as well, as far as, enclosures, fences, electronic devices. Elaborate a little bit on that. I think it's important.
In terms of the security around the school
Yeah,
sites?
that it's, we're working at the you're working at the highest level of security you can regarding not personnel, but the infrastructure as well.
Right. We look at many different aspects, like you mentioned, technology-wise, like the weapon detection,
Cameras.
the cameras we have on every site, the fencing around, the actual security officer is in charge, again, they walk around inside the building, outside the building when it's dismissal or when kids get in the morning. So, I mean, it's,
Classroom doors
the
remain locked.
doors, all of the things that every classroom needs in terms of if there's an emergency, like the emergency buckets that they have, sleeves for the doors, so you name it. I mean, it's an extensive. We do the drills, so it's a constant updating, I will call it, on those programs, and so we can be ready in case something happens.
Do you have anything you want to add to that, Ms.
No,
Cox?
just that, good afternoon, that we are constantly doing drills at the different sites to make sure that if an emergency ever would happen, that we are prepared for that.
Very good. All right, members of the board, any further discussion? Ms. Salchow?
Do you intend to notify, it's kind of hot on that mic. Do you intend to notify parents that the SSO officer will be there? Because I know that when we placed the metal detectors at the schools, the elementaries, there was a lot of questions from people in the public about, is Douglas Unified School District that dangerous? Is Douglas that dangerous? And, you know I tried to say, nope, but we want to make sure it doesn't become that way. But will there be notification
Yes,
for
and so
parents
we'll
as
do
a-
that when we are ready to go with the city approving their IGA, we bring to the
Okay.
board and we're ready to start. We will provide information to both middle schools' parents so that they're aware that as of this day, there will be a presence of this and it's for the reason of this and fund it out of a grant. And it's just, another person that is going to assist us with our whole school security and safety measures.
And that they're not part of classroom
Yes,
management.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
I need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I move to
We
approve
did all
the,
that without a motion?
I move to approve the revised IGA between the City of Douglas and DUSD for the SSO program.
I second.
Second by Ms. Salchow. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Salcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Bring?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And before we adjourn, I just do want to recognize, we were notified, as you all may have heard, that former superintendent and educator Sheila Rogers had passed away. And so we were reached out by Gilbert Unified because she was our former superintendent and a longtime educator. So our condolences to her family.
I would just like to add to that Mrs. Rogers was an outstanding educator. She served on many statewide committees that she was appointed by the state board. She was recognized for her outstanding service at different levels of her career, and she was an ardent supporter of education. So I think we can. I think we should have a moment of silence for her, and then we'll move on to the next item. Thank you. All right, do you have anything else, Ms. Samaniego?
No, that is it. We're done.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second
Second.
by Ms. Salchow. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We stand